I'd like to call the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, November 8th to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. Is Mr. Dennis Childers here this morning? Okay, I didn't think so. So we'll begin our meeting with the invocation given by Commissioner Larry Harvey, and the pledge will be led by Commissioner Turner. Please stand if you're able.
Let us bow. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for today, a day we've never experienced before in our life. Father, it's an important day today. It's election day. It's also County Commission Day. Father, we ask that your will be done throughout our land today. That your mercy and grace will follow us. Your wisdom will come upon us as we deliberate and make great decisions to move our county, our state, and our country forward today. Father, we thank you for everything that you do for us. We thank you for the fact that we can go right directly to your throne room, ask for forgiveness, ask for wisdom, and ask for mercy. Father, we thank you for these men and women, our staff and our commissioners, who have dedicated themselves to prepare for today's meeting. Father, we thank you for that. And as we pray today, Lord, we just thank you for all the great things you're doing. We ask that you protect us from this storm that's coming. And we ask everything in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Harvey, and thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioners, our first item of business is item 2, approval of the minutes as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes stated in our packet.
Second.
We've got a proper motion or a proper second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, I will recess the Board of County Commission meeting, and I will convene the Port Authority meeting. Commissioners, item A, approval of the minutes of the Port Authority regular meeting October 11th.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
You got a proper motion or proper second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Item B, public comment. Any individuals wishing to make public comment on Port Authority items? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion. Any general discussion from the commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Adams-Ack.
We had talked about having an inventory of the properties owned by the Port Authority. I think it's going on like 9 months now. At this point, I'm feeling like that's unacceptable. How do we not know what properties the Port Authority owns, what their purpose is, that kind of thing? But I mean, just a basic list for myself and the public is really all I asked for. And just curious where we are on that, and if we have any update coming. Thank you.
Julianne, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir, Chairman. The original request came in to provide an analysis of both inventory and the impacts it would have if we transfer properties between general fund and the Port Authority. The list is easily produced. However, Ms. Frank at the clerk's office was spearheading the project as to the impacts it would have on our assets and liabilities. And Ms. Frank's had some things going on at the end there, and she worked hard on it, so please do not misunderstand that. However, there has been some turnover, and we're working to get that back on Ms. Ryan's to-do list at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
I guess the question I would have, we looked this stuff up before I got elected, and we were able to get this from the property appraiser's office in about an hour. Didn't take a lot of research. I had a list of every property, and still have that list of every property owned by the Putnam County Port Authority as it was in 2016 or 17. But I agree with Commissioner Adams-Ack. I think it's to throw Ms. Frank under the bus and put the clerk of court in a position of responsibility over something they have no responsibility over is just egregious. I think it's the board's responsibility. This is the Port Authority board. It's not the clerk of court, and it's not the county commission. And this is part of the problem that I've been complaining about since the day I got elected, is the mismanagement and misfeasance of staff and the board. But I'll leave that alone.
Here we go.
Oh, no, we haven't gone yet.
Okay. All right. Okay, any other comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, there he is. just because Mr. Matt Reynolds, clerk of the court, is sitting here today. Mr. Reynolds, please don't take any comments that were made here this morning as anything directed at your staff or Ms. Frank. We understand the situation we're working on.
I haven't, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Adams-Act?
At this time, the 5 of us are the Port Authority, and the only recourse we have is to find out information and get information is from staff. I guess I come up with my own ideas what we should do with the properties, but I've already stated those for some of them. So the ones that are key is obviously Triangle Park, and I don't know any other parks under the Port Authority, but this moving monies between Port Authority, general fund, and other things, the fund things for parks and other things, and there's some stuff that's going to come up soon that it just doesn't make sense from an accounting standpoint. I think it would be even easier for staff to manage if they were under the right portions of government. I don't think the Port Authority has any business running parks, and I don't think Parks has any business using Port Authority property. That's just my opinion. But I mean, that's the main driving thing, and then to figure out what properties we may be able to sell or do something with. If they don't meet the goals of the Port Authority, we have no port manager, which the port manager is more than just the physical port at the waterfront. It would be someone that would manage all port properties, all ideas of what we're moving forward with. I've asked for that since basically a couple of weeks after I took office. It's been almost 2 years. I really think we need to move forward with having a port manager who can handle this type of stuff and come up with a plan based on the properties we have, the inventories. I don't think it has anything to do with the clerk of courts outside of maybe them saying what the economic impact of moving something because of the value of a property and how you'd have to do the accounting of it. That would be the only role that they would have, in my opinion. If I'm wrong there, please let me know that. But we have no plan. We're spending $1 million on a piece of property soon. We're selling some properties, which is great news. I think that piece of property, the GP property, could be a great asset. But we have absolutely no plan for that piece of property. And if we do, I'd love for someone to share it with me. But there's been nothing shared with me. I've asked from this dais several times, what's the plan? We don't have a plan. And I just don't think it's right to spend millions of dollars of taxpayers' money with no plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams-Act. Okay. Any other comments under Port Authority? Okay. All right, I'll adjourn the Port Authority and I'll reconvene the Board of County Commissioners meeting. And Commissioners, we had a certain time planning to plat vacation for 905 that has been tabled. And we will see this at our next regular scheduled meeting, which would be the 22nd.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that.
Okay. Okay, we will move down to item 5, presentations. November is National Hospice and Palliative Care Month. So I would like to ask Ms. Sharon Jones, Vice President of Development, and Crystal Burks, Professional Liaison with the Haven Hospice, to come forward. And I've asked Commissioner Adams-Act to read the proclamation.
Putnam County Proclamation Number 2022-108. Excuse me. National Hospice and Palliative Care Month, November 2022.
Whereas Haven utilizes an interdisciplinary, team-oriented approach to treatment, including expert medical care, quality symptom control, and comprehensive pain management as the foundation of care. Whereas beyond providing physical treatment, Haven attends to the patient's emotional, spiritual, and family needs, and provides family services like respite care and bereavement counseling. Whereas Haven provides community-based palliative care, which delivers expertise to improve quality of life and relief from pain and can be provided at any time during an illness. Whereas an increasingly fragmented and broken healthcare system, hospice is one of the few sectors that demonstrates how healthcare can and should work at its best for its patients. Whereas every year, 1.5 million Americans living with life-limiting illness and their families receive care from the nation's hospice programs and communities throughout the United States, including Haven. Whereas Haven is an advocate and educator about advanced care planning that helps individuals make decisions about the care they want. Whereas the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services have pledged to put patients first in all of its programs, including hospice, ensuring a coordinated and patient-led approach to care, protecting patient choice, and access to individualized services based on a patient's unique care, needs, and wishes. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Robert Pickens, by virtue of the authority vested in me by Putnam County, do hereby proclaim November 22 as National Hospice and Palliative Care Month, and encourage citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of care at the end of life, discuss their end-of-life wishes with their families, and observe the month with appropriate activities and programs. I so move proclamation number 2022-108 for approval.
Second. Proper motion, proper second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations. Before I ask Sharon and Crystal to say a few words, the ever-young Danny Martinez was supposed to be here, but he has an event that he's headed to this afternoon, and been very instrumental in the foundation, I believe. And also Wayne McLean was supposed to be here and not able to attend. I found out about hospice the hard way. It was when my father was dying. And until you're involved in that process and what hospice can provide you, you truly don't understand. And they were a godsend for our family, and then also with my mother-in-law just a few years after that. So I just say thank you for everything that you do and will continue to do to help families in these situations. So if you'll say a few words, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. We're very happy to be here today to receive this recognition. Certainly, we're glad to be a part of Putnam County with the Roberts Care Center. I must admit, though, it feels a little lonely to be here today without our board chair, Danny Martinez, or our vice chair, Mr. Wayne McLean. But we also always receive such a warm reception from you all, so thank you very much. And remember, every day is a gift. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, our next item, item B, which would be the recognition of with Stella Brown and Library Services for One Putnam, will be rescheduled for our next meeting. So we'll move down to the next presentation. And being Veterans Day on Friday, this is very appropriate for this report, but we will have Executive Director of Human Resources, Sarah Carone, and then Jeremy Woodward and Alan Hugo with Veteran Services and give us an update. Thank you.
Good morning. This is just an update and kind of bragging, I guess, if you will, about all the progress and services that this department has completed from October of 2021 through September of 2021, so last fiscal year. So they had 910 appointments, 292 walk-ins, which were not scheduled appointments. They processed over 1,400 claims, and they brought over $3 million back into Putnam County and into our community. So for those of you that don't know how Veteran Services works, when these guys work with veterans, they're helping them navigate getting their benefits. And while the money does not come back to Putnam County or our budget. It does come back into the community, which helps our economic development. It helps our veterans in the area. In addition to the $3 million of claims that they had processed, they also saved 2 veterans with medical expenses. One veteran, they saved $850,000 in medical expenses, and another veteran, they saved $245,000 in medical services by identifying benefits that they could have gotten through the VA and other sources rather than just traditional insurance. They also helped a third veteran receive $250,000 in back pay that they should have received. And the really kind of highlight here for me is that during the last fiscal year, while we had 2 employees, for about 6 months of the year, we only had 1 person who could actually access the VA system. So they really did a great job of tag teaming, of interviewing the veterans, telling them what they needed, helping them navigate while another person was doing all the data entry and processing their benefits. So these guys have worked really hard. They have a really good rhythm going with, their locations in Crescent City and Interlochen and the office here in Palatka. So being Veterans Day, I thought it was a good idea to just give them some shine and congratulate them on having a great year.
Can't forget about November 10th. That's the Marine Corps birthday. I just thought I'd bring that up real quick. For those Marines that are here, thank you for your service. Thank everybody else for their service that's here.
Good deal.
Commissioner Adams?
So I just want to say, during the time frame that we were down to 1 person, there was a little bit of negative feedback coming back, and that's just because of backlog and stuff. But I do want to acknowledge that I have gotten feedback in the past few months that things have improved dramatically in that office. You guys are doing a great job, and you guys have always done a great job. The prior people did a great job. We have a unique community here where I think just a little bit over 10%, if you go by census numbers, of our community is veterans. And that's a big block of people in a small county like this of 75,000 or less people. And I just appreciate everything you do. Any veterans that are out there watching or listening, take advantage of the resources that we have in the county. The Legions also have some resources, and obviously your VA clinics do. But these guys do a great job. Very few complaints ever, and mostly kudos. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Commissioner Rawls.
Yeah, I want to echo the same sentiments that Commissioner Isaac said. I've also talked to some veterans that are very pleased with what's going on in the community. There was a time, 6 or 8 years ago when getting services was very difficult, having follow-up. A lot of people don't realize that while serving the military is dangerous in itself, separating from the military also presents a lot of challenges. And there's some folks that have a tough time reassimilating back into society, especially when they've served in forward combat positions. So, when you're thinking about people and what they do for a living, think about the people that have served previously. There are a lot of folks out there that suffer from PTSD from an emotional perspective, but also from a physical, traumatical perspective. So, I think that the 11th is a very important day for us to all remember our veterans, and the fact that they're here and the fact that they've served and the ones that went before us are the reason that we're able to sit in this room and enjoy the liberties that we enjoy today. So if you'd like, I'll go ahead and read this proclamation.
Okay. Excuse me, Administrator Suggs wants to make a comment, and then I'll call the representatives from the American Legion up in just a minute. Administrator Suggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a personal comment to both Alan and Jeremy. This is a service that is absolute need, but it's one of those that brings a much-needed relief to the families for which you guys work with and the effect that you have in their lives. My father was a World War II veteran who worked very closely with the Veteran Services Division for many years, who ended up being 100% disconnected due to a service injury. And so the benefit of what these folks bring to people's lives is really invaluable. You can't put your hand on it. You really can't. It's the intangible.
So to both Alan and Jeremy, thank you so much for what you do for this community and for what you do for this board and for the administration. Thank you both very much.
Commissioner Adams?
Just one last thing, only because he brought up the Marines. Go Navy, on behalf of myself and Commissioner Rawls.
Okay. Thank you for that update. That's fantastic. And I also had a veteran reach out to me about the experience he was having and the service he was getting just recently. So thank you so much. Next is proclamation declaring Veterans Day, November 11th. And as I asked, and I didn't get the young lady's name, but I do recognize Gary Coward out there, who I've known all my life. And his wife was an educator in Crescent City for over 30 years. And both Gary's children, his son and daughter, both graduated from West Point. Is that correct, Gary? Yeah. So probably don't have too many counties with two graduates from West Point, just a few years apart. So, and they served their country well. So as I asked them to come forward, I've asked Commissioner Rawls to read the proclamation. But if we could have it come up, and I'm not a veteran, my father was and my grandfather, but could we just have all the veterans stand and recognize them, please? And any veterans who want to come up with me.
Putnam County Proclamation number 22-117, declaring November 11th, 22 as Veterans Day in Putnam County, Florida. Whereas throughout U.S. history, Americans have kept a special, well-deserved place in honor of their heart, in their hearts for our nation's veterans. And for more than 70 years, we've set aside each November 11th to recognize the men and women who have so valiantly served our country, first known as Armistice Day in 1947 and changed to Veterans Day in 1954. On this day, we pause, remember, and pay tribute to these veterans whose courage and sacrifice have secured our freedom. And in Putnam County, we have over 10,000 veterans who have answered our country's call for duty. And each Veterans Day, our community celebrates and honors our veterans and invite all Americans to display their American flag and honor and pay tribute safely to our Americans who gave of themselves to keep us free. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, through the authority vested in me by the Board of County Commissioners of Putnam County, Florida, I do by proclaim November 11th, 2022, Veterans Day in Putnam County, Florida. Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Second.
Got a proper motion by Commissioner Rawls, proper second by Commissioner Harvey. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
On behalf of Bert Hodge, Post 45, Palaca, Florida, the veterans appreciate you inviting us, and thank you for this very, very much. We're all about helping other veterans all across the nation. So anytime you see a veteran that's in trouble, try to help them if you can. I surely appreciate this very much. Thank you.
Diane, would you like to say a few words? No? All right, thank you so much. We'll get a picture, okay? Okay, I have one more presentation to make. It's not on the agenda, but I will go to the podium and start that presentation. As chairman, I'll take a point of privilege to make a few comments before I ask this person to come forward. When you choose to make your home in a community, that's one thing. It's probably because you like where it's located, maybe some of the people. But when you choose to marry, raise your children, enter into multiple businesses, self-employed, that's when you really take stock in the community. I'd like to ask Commissioner Jeff Rawls to come forward, please. When you're blessed to be able to raise a family and make a living in Putnam County like I have, you give back, and that's what Jeff has done. You're thankful for what God has given you, and you want to give back to the community. Usually it starts by joining a church. And I know Jeff is very involved in his church, and I believe plays the drums for their praise and worship band. Then it may go a little further to maybe get into a civic organization or two. And I know Jeff is a longtime Rotarian, past president of the Sunrise Club, and I believe very instrumental in revitalizing the Wild Game Feast and also bringing pickleball tournament to Putnam County. I don't know if Jeff plays pickleball or not. He probably wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about the community and how to bless the community and maybe bring in new people and revenues. But when you step out of your comfort zone because you're so concerned of how the community is, the place that you live, and you step out and run for public office, that's a whole different ballgame. Doesn't matter what level. Could be state level, national level. I think the magnifying glass just gets smaller and more defined as you come down, maybe to a county level or even a local level. And that's what Jeff has done. He took his desire to make a community better, and he ran for county commissioner, and he served for 4 years. So on behalf of the citizens of Putnam County, County Commission, and staff, in special recognition and appreciation of Jeff Rawls for his dedication to the county, the citizens of Putnam County, serving with honor and integrity as a member of the Board of County Commissioners for 4 years, 2018 to 2022. And Jeff is also a veteran, so he has served our country in that capacity also. Dedicated this Board of County Commissioners this 8th day of November, 2022. Mr. Rawls, thank you.
To say this is overwhelming would be an understatement. And I've never been one to be at a loss for words, but this is definitely one of those moments. Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for letting me do that. Okay, we'll move down to public comment on agenda items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It's not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in debate or deliberation on matters on which the board has received no prior information on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We prefer that you fill out a blue comment card, which are at the entrance and the exit of the building, and if you'll give them to Ashley over to my left, your right. So we'll open up for public comment on agenda items. And Ms. Ann Wallace on the budget resolution, item D, I believe it is. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ann Wallace, 134 Bowfin Avenue, and that's in Palatka. In September of 2021, Mr. Turner asked for $2 million funds from the BPP, the Better Place Plan, for road resurfacing. And I applaud you, and I think it's great. Ms. Young informed that $1 million had already been budgeted. Mr. Turner wanted more, of course. So he asked for another $1 million, and everybody pretty much agreed. He did ask for it to be taken from the dirt to pave plan, and Mr. Harvey very much told the whole commission that there was some extra money coming in from the Better Place Plan revenue, more than expected. Remember, this is 2021 we're talking about. So this was a win-win situation because the roads are being resurfaced. It's a great thing, and there was no more money that would be taken from anywhere that it shouldn't be taken from. So the lion's share of the money spent at that point. So today, staff is asking for that same money, that money from the Better Place Plan, to be used to purchase 4 ambulances. And the 4 ambulances were allotted from the ARPA funds. And I also think that's a great thing. I wish you guys had allocated for 10 ambulances. But you cannot take money that you've allocated and spent for something else and then resurrect that money and allocate it somewhere else. So I did a little bit of research, and I think that it's worth investigating where we can get that money from, where Putnam County can look at getting the money. And there is a provision under the ARPA funds where the county could take about $1.5 million from the ARPA allocation and allocate it to, I guess, the general fund, or, you know, I'm not an accountant, studied it in school, but didn't qualify. So I think that there's a way that we can turn it into a win-win situation. Thank you. So I'm asking for you either to table the ambulance purchase and find out where we can use the funds, or, you know, do something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Commissioner Rawls?
I guess it's appropriate to talk about this. There is another source of funds, and that would be the general fund reserves. I agree with Ms. Wallace. I think that, you know, the intent of the Better Place Plan when it was originally proposed to the citizens was we agreed to pay the extra cent in taxes in order to gain roads through dirt to pave, maintaining roads, and also sidewalks and stuff like that. Buying ambulances was never intended for that, and whether it's allowed or not, I think this commission should take the position that the BPP should be used to make Putnam a better place. As I've stated before in the past, there's been a lot of missed opportunities by not funding for future expenses, and having your capital improvement plan provide new ambulances on a regular basis is what should have happened here. Now we're having to scramble and pull money out of a fund that was actually meant to do exactly what Ms. Wallace said, which is pave roads or maintain roads that are already paved. So the BPP tax is not guaranteed to be put back in and reinstated when it expires. And I don't know why the county commission at this point would not just take a look at the general fund reserves and say, we have the money, let's pay for that and leave the BPP alone.
Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I'll hold my remarks until the item has been pulled from the consent agenda for proper time.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other public comment on the agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move down to the consent agenda. And I'm going to pull item K, subtropical storm Nicole, local state of emergency declaration. We'll pull that and talk about that at the end. Commissioners, any items you want to pull, starting with Commissioner Adams-Ack?
D and I.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
I also wanted to pull D.
Commissioner Rawls? Okay, and Commissioner Harvey?
Everything's been pulled that I needed. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the consent agenda forward on items A, B, C, F, G, H, and J.
Okay, got a proper motion, got a proper second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move down to, we'll start with Commissioner Adams-Ack, item D.
So on item D, I don't know if my concerns match Ms. Mann's, but I don't think we should take that from the Better Place Plan Fund unless if we were going to use the ARPA funds basically to do dirt to pave, which I did confirm with Ms. Young this morning, but that is a proper use of ARPA funds. I think that is a use that could get done in the time frame that's required for ARPA, which is the reason why this is coming out of ARPA, is basically we couldn't get the ambulances in time, is my understanding from talking to staff. I had that concern about the ambulances when we voted on it. It played out, that's fine. And you know, we don't control the world around us with supply side things, all that stuff. It's just a crappy situation we're in, and hopefully today's election changes some of that for better or worse, I don't know yet. So I'd like to see us, if we did move forward with it as this is written, I wouldn't support it unless if we were taking and committing that same $1.561 million from ARPA to dirt to pave or resurfacing. That's what I'd like to propose, is that we just change this, instead of coming from the general fund, or if we come from Better Place Plan with the ambulances, that we also do a motion to use this $1.5 million from ARPA to do dirt to pave and or resurfacing.
Okay. Commissioner Turner?
First off, there isn't $1.5 million in ARPA because they were only proposing to take $1.2 million out of ARPA and the rest of it.
Okay, so the 1.2 and then the 300-some thousand from general.
Don't interrupt me, Paul. I think the biggest problem here is that federal procurement does not allow us in the time frame to just go buy ambulances off a state contract. They have to be hard bid. None of the ambulance companies, because they're so far out, will even bid on them. They just tell you, never mind, because they're selling all they can sell on state contract. So that makes it virtually, not impossible, but virtually impossible to use ARPA funds to do it. So there's 4 ambulances that the chassis are available that have tentatively been put on. We told them that we wanted at the county, is what I've been told, and so basically we've got to figure out how to pay for it. I'm in total agreement that money does not need to come out of the $1.2 million additional funds that came in exceeding the amount of money. But we also, I believe that I'm fixing to get in trouble. I believe within a 90% certainty that we're going to bring the communication system in under the $7 million ARPA funds. There's still some things out there that we're not sure about, but I think I'm pretty confident that we're going to get there. I propose that we take the $1 million that we had earmarked for the communication system in the BPP, and we've been carrying over for several years. I say we use that towards the ambulances because it was already earmarked for something other than roads. That would leave the money free, the additional 1.2 in unbudgeted revenues, that would leave that free to go on and do things that we should do with it, like pave roads or resurfacing or whatever. But we would also have to take $600,000 out of another pot. I say we take it straight out of the general fund and leave Better Place Plan alone if we use this money. Now, that gives us what we want to do. That does not use the 1.2 million. It takes $600,000 out of general revenues to go toward the 4 ambulances. If we don't take these 4, it's going to be 3 years before we can get another one. So we need to go on and try to get these 4 ambulances that are available, or it's going to be 3 years. And then we're going to be 3 more years behind in buying ambulances because we haven't bought any ambulances in the last couple of years, so we're behind. So maybe from this point forward, we can just try to get an ambulance a year, and then we don't get in this position that we're in right now with too many old ambulances. So basically what I'd like to do is take the communications, the $1 million in communications money that we have rolled over for several years and use that towards the ambulances, because now is not, I don't think we're going to need it. And if we are a little short of 50 or 100,000 of making the deal work, we could always take that money out of the general fund to make just to finish up the communications. So that'll finish that project. That'll get our ambulances on the way, the 4 right now. And basically it's $1 million that was already committed to non-road construction or resurfacing. So it's not taking any of that away. And like I said earlier, it's been rolled over several years. And then the other 800,000, just take it, or 600,000, excuse me, take it out of reserves, and we can go on and get our ambulances, and we haven't messed with any of the money or dropped the percentage on the road to pave or the resurfacing in the Better Place Plan. We've actually increased it. So that's what I had to say, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
I think we should leave the $1 million alone. You're going to need that to build the animal services building. I think if you take the money for this right now out of reserves that you currently have, and you have plenty of it, fund those ambulances, and then start funding, purchase 3 more ambulances on top of that to be delivered in 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years from now. I think then you're getting in a lot more strategic position to replace your fleet. You won't have the aging problem that you have right now, and you'll be in a position to have your capital improvement plan actually work for you and not have these little emergencies that pop up. But I think if you take your eye off the fact that you have an animal services bill that your public has been demanding for a very long time, shifting this money around from ARPA to animal services is viable. Shifting it around from BPP, from the reserves and BPP to animal services is absolutely what the tax was for. But I think at this point, you're best pulling it out of reserves unless you've got the reserve money spent somewhere else. And we just told the public a month ago that we didn't need reserves money to balance the budget. So I think that we're in a pretty good position to be able to do that. We should do that.
Okay. Commissioner Adams, aye.
I'd be all for either proposal. My only thing is I don't have the information, I guess, that Commissioner Turner has, that the communication system's going to come in under $1 million less than what was expected. I don't even know who I would talk to garner that information. So I guess there's conversations happening that I'm not aware of. So, and I guess there's conversations I can try to have if someone can direct me with who to have it with, so that I can find out how we're coming in under $1 million. I'm a little bit concerned, because that's a need that's been out there for over a decade as well, is if we pull that money out and then it doesn't come in under $1 million, because I have no indicator, and you said it in another meeting too, outside of Commissioner Turner saying that he feels like it's going to be under $1 million. I'm hopeful it is, because that would be a big win for the county, be a big win for all of us. I just have nothing to say that that's a fact. If I knew that was for certain, I'd be all for that. But without knowing that, I'm for just taking out the general fund at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Turner?
Well, first off, if the board will remember, you actually voted to let me participate in the communications, negotiations, and system. So I don't have any information. I'm not allowed to share any of that information with you, except when we're in a meeting. So the negotiations aren't finished, but they're going well. And the staff more than myself, I can't take claim for this, the staff more than myself is doing very well. The Sheriff's Department has participated on a grand level with us to try to get us there, along with EOC, and I think JR, Julianne, and Terry has taken the lead on this, and they've done a fine job. I do think that we're going to get there. Like I said, if we end up being just a little bit off, we can take that money from general fund and make it whole. I do believe we're going to be right around $7 million at ARPA. It's not $1 million less, it's the money that we set aside from ARPA. We're going to be within it, the $1 million that we've had set aside for the communications tower, which is what we had it in there. We're going to get it included in the $7 million with negotiations. And like I said, I've probably already spoke too much because that negotiation is still ongoing, but I think we're going to get there, I really do. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose a motion. I'd like to propose a motion that we purchase the 4 ambulances, where they can send out the PO, that they use $1 million from Better Place, from the communication system monies, and $600,000, 1.6 is what we need, right, Julianne? $600,000 from reserves to purchase that.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We've got a proper motion, and we have a proper second. Okay. All right, we'll start with discussions. Commissioner Rawls?
I think, you know, the county has never done anything to support or help the folks in our community that have substance use issues and mental health problems. And it's been a huge topic lately, no matter what channel you watch on TV, nationwide, we have that problem. This is an opportunity for us to take the ARPA money and shift it into that. I still think there's no reason you wouldn't pull the money completely out of reserves, leave the $1 million in BPP, because not if, but when you need that money for the animal services, the money will be available. But you know, this has come up, and it kind of flies in the face of the public. It comes up at a last-minute deal. We don't really get a lot of information out there to the public, and then we're told to make a decision on this, but not allow the public to have input. I think this is a slippery slope. I think you're going down the wrong direction, and you know, I obviously do not stand in favor of it.
Commissioner Adams?
Do we know how long we have to make the decision on the 4 ambulances? Is there a way to slow this at all, Jared?
Not unless we want to wait 3 years on 4.
This particular purchase for these 4? Because you have the 4, you know where they are. Is that true, or is?
Yes. So to slow it down, we just gave them a contingency letter upon today's meeting to talk to you guys about the purchase of them. So what happened is a vendor has come up with about 10 that are coming to the state of Florida, and that's it. Every other vendor we've talked to said they're between 24 and 30 months. If you signed a PO today, that's pending getting a chassis. So then it's not even a guaranteed time frame. So these are actually supposed to be in here anywhere between between July and September. They're supposed to be built in the 3rd quarter of 2023, and they're supposed to be delivered somewhere around that time frame. So this is the only ones that have come to us. We've actually contacted other vendors and said, is there any more available? Are you guys seeing the same thing in the market? And they said, absolutely not. They said, if you can buy them, you better get them, because we're so far out on chassis they can't even guarantee, and they won't even give us a price on the chassis because they don't know what it's going to cost in the future. So I don't know of really a way to slow the process at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Harvey?
I want to say this is a great conversation, because when I got here 8 years ago, you weren't looking for money. We didn't have any money to move. And Ms. Wallace, thank you from the public for coming forward and talking to us today. I think this is a great compromise, and we can put public safety first, and when we need more money for somewhere else, gentlemen, we have the money. So, Mr. Chairman, I call for the vote.
Okay, there's a comment. We are behind with the ambulance because we didn't buy any last year. So, and you know, the supply chain probably is not going to get any better in the near future in any type of purchases, from you know, big equipment like that to small purchases. I see it every day in my business. And Commissioner Harvey is correct. is when I first arrived, we really didn't have much reserves, and the purse strings are much tighter. So I think this is a good compromise. So we have a proper motion and a proper second. All in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. 4-1 with Commissioner Rawls dissenting.
Mr. Chairman, I made a mistake on my consent agenda motion. I thought I heard item E, so I move item E for approval.
Second.
Okay, got a proper motion to move item E and a proper second, which was missed on the consent agenda. All in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move down to item I. Commissioner Adamczak.
So item I, I just pulled this to recognize the sanitation department and kind of thinking outside the box to save the county some money. Basically, instead of going out and purchasing a brand-new huge Caterpillar D6 dozer, we're going to refurbish the one that we have with a complete rebuild. It saves us around $200-some thousand from the county perspective. With this crunch that we have for ambulances, I know in the past, we talked about potentially refurbishing some of the older ambulances. Is that maybe something we may want to look at? And this, I didn't mean to ask this question, but the conversation kind of went there. Is that something we could look into maybe to get some of our next years or 2 years to fill that gap of 3 years, maybe get 1 or 2 rebuilt? I know we had looked at it, it seemed like it was break-even cost way last time we looked into it. But at this point, that's the only way we can move forward. Maybe that's something to consider.
Absolutely, we can absolutely look into it as well, but I mean, those chassis are the ones that you could actually re-chassis right now are just as hard to get in your internationals and things like that. They're very well out too, but we can absolutely look at trying to re-chassis some ambulances in the future, absolutely.
Thank you.
And that was the point behind switching to the 550 chassis that we've kind of done now is whenever it comes available, you just order a new chassis, put the box on top of it, and we can back on the road with, a paint job or something and fixing up some scuffs and stuff like that in the future. Now, that's exactly where we're headed.
Okay. So the purpose of me pulling this is just to recognize that we do have staff that's working hard to try to save us some money in some places, and I really appreciate Jay Tilton for that work. So I move that we move forward with item I.
Second.
Okay, got a proper motion and a proper second. Commissioner Rawls has a comment.
Question or comment for JR. Buying vehicles lately, we see a lot of F-450s and 550 chassis that are available commercially. Have you explored the possibility of buying the chassis and then hand them over to someone to build a box? Question one. Number two, I personally would disagree with re-chassis in the internationals you have right now. I think that it's counterintuitive to this county and the rural nature that we have. You're better off with the 550 chassis. But it seems to me like commercially speaking, they're available. You can buy, even if you had to buy a truck with a cargo box on it and take the cargo box off, you'd probably be dollars ahead, and they are available.
The thing that we've noticed, and we have asked that same question, is a lot of the 550s and 450s out there are not built with the ambulance prep package that's required by DOT for us to have. So, I mean, we checked with Duval Ford and we checked with Bex, and they just don't order those in with the ambulance prep packs. They don't fit the bill. So when I did ask them when we could order chassis, they told us that they're just now receiving chassis they ordered 24 months ago.
Right.
So, I mean, either way, if I was to get a chassis and get it ordered today, and if we received it 24 months from now, by the time I get it to the manufacturer and get it on there, we're still at 30 to 36 months out before it ever did. So I have not been able to find a chassis that was built with the ambulance prep pack, whether it be Ford, Dodge, Chevrolet, any of them that have the ambulance prep package built that are sitting on the lot.
I would encourage you to find out what's included in that prep package. It used to be a larger alternator.
Yes, sir.
And in some cases, an air compressor or not an air compressor that could be added, especially for PTO purposes. But I think there's a way around it, and you can have all the ambulances you want built if you were to do that extra work. I would encourage you to look into it.
Sure.
If the ambulance prep package is what's stopping you, maybe get your own chassis and prep your own and have them prepped by the manufacturer. But I would not want to see you guys run those MAV units anymore. They're just a waste of weight, and it's hard on the roads and hard on the chassis.
Yep. Thank you.
Joe, you may want to stay up there for item K. And I'd also like to comment before I call for the vote, is I commend Jay Tilton also for everything he's done at the landfill, but reading the information about the rebuild of this D6, it's going to be as good as new when it comes back, and in a fairly short time. So I commend him on that. So got a proper motion and a proper second on item I. All in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, Commissioners, before you is a local state of emergency declaration that we need to discuss about enacting. No, I just, and I want to update from JR, from the briefing that I've set in on this morning. Okay. Okay. All right.
Basically, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'm understanding this is basically that we don't have to have a special meeting if the governor declares a state of emergency. We can just have you sign it, is that correct?
He declared yesterday, sir.
Governor
Declared yesterday.
I move approval.
Second.
Okay. A proper motion, a proper second. Administrator Sugg, you have any comments before we vote?
No, sir, not at this time. Let's go ahead if you don't. We'll certainly do that, but I'm sure Safety Director Grimes will talk about the pending event itself and the seriousness of it, and making sure that our citizens are very much aware of what we're facing here.
Okay. Do we need to read any of the resolution title or anything like that?
By title only, sir.
Sir?
By title only.
Resolution 2022, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Putnam County, Florida, declaring a local emergency due to subtropical storm Nicole, adopting Executive Order 22-253 instituted by the Governor of Florida, pursuant to Chapter 252 Florida statutes and Putnam County ordinances, Article 2, specifically Sections 16-19 through 16-26, and providing for an effective date.
Second.
We've got a proper motion and a proper second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, JR, I'll just make a couple of comments from what I witnessed out of the EOC today. Is this storm is definitely going to have a good bit of wind, a good bit of rain, and the storm surge on the coastline and especially St. Johns River is going to be 3 to 6 feet. So this will be Irma-like. Didn't say Ian or Matthew, it'll be Irma-like, which I think that was the worst one. And some of the closing comments from one of the people giving the report, he said, don't take this storm lightly at all. You need to prepare, and especially if in your flood-prone area. So, JR?
Yes, sir. So as of 8 o'clock update this morning, they said that we're going to look locally between 4 to 6 inches of rainfall, 3 to 6 foot of storm surge higher than what we're seeing right now. Al Sandrick from the National Weather Service, which is retired a meteorologist, said he wanted us all to keep one thing in mind. Superstorm Sandy that hit New Jersey and New York registered 2 spots of hurricane force winds. So I didn't necessarily compare it to Sandy, but he was saying don't take this one lightly. Especially I was in Duns Creek yesterday afternoon. I went into Sportsman's Harbor in Willaca, and the water is already at the top of the bulkheads if it's not already in the streets. So we stacked 3 to 6 foot on top of that. We're going to be in, I hate to say bad shape. I don't want anybody to take it lightly. We're going to make a decision this afternoon at 1:20 whether we're going to, when and we're going to open up our shelters. Just because then we've already ordered through the state this morning, we ordered a shallow water team from the state of Florida. And if it gets approved, they'll send us an air asset to go with it so that we can be able to get into these flood-prone areas that are already flood-prone. I'd say we still have 60% of the water we had from Hurricane Ian still left in the river. I have not been down to Astor late in the last week or two, but when I was down there, the water was still backed up trying to get into Lake George. So I think we're going to see long-term effects from both of these storms. And it doesn't seem like they're going anywhere real fast. So we pray for everybody out there that, that's watching this. Please keep up to date. Listen to our radios, listen to our Facebook pages, look for our updates. We're going to try to push news media out today, just to try to keep our citizens as much informed as possible. So if you guys would just share all of our information we're shipping out today, and that kind of stuff. So, but shows that we're probably going to get some tropical storm force winds, somewhere between 55 and 74 mile an hour sustained with some upper tropical storm gusts. They showed 48 miles an hour sustained in the current projected model. In Crescent City is a 48 mile an hour sustained winds with up and getting into the 70s in their gusts. So it looks like it's going to be a south end storm. However, it shows Gainesville starting to get tropical storm force winds sometime early morning Thursday. So it is going to shift over, and then it's going to kind of bend and go straight up towards Georgia and run the east coast out of the United States. So it does look like it's going to be a pretty significant event. People just need to stay tuned and keep an eye out and be safe.
Commissioner Rollins?
Just want to say, we started digging a swimming pool yesterday. That day for that. You know, when I launched the boat the other day at the boat ramp here, and I jokingly said to my wife, I said, if the water comes up any higher, we're going to need to just buy a canoe, because it makes it very difficult to launch a boat when it's that high, but it's high already. And I think downtown Palatka may experience some issues with drainage, it looks like.
And they say we're going to see a significant northeasterly flow where the storm's coming in underneath us, and we're also going to, and the king tide's also here, and it won't go away until after the full moon, and we're right in it. I mean, all the stars are lining up for bad flooding time, so people out there just watching this or whatever, please take it serious. Don't wait till the water starts running in your house before you call us. Let's get you out. Let's get you to a safe spot and get you taken care of.
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, while we're being filmed, let the people in West Putnam know that this is going to affect them. You know, here 2.5 months ago, we were dealing with roads washing out. Now we're dealing with dry roads, and they wish they had some rain on it. Well, they're fixing to get a bunch of it. And just be very cautious. If you flooded before, it's going to happen again. If your road washed out, it's going to wash out. So just protect you and your family as best you can. Thank you.
Commissioner Adams-Jack?
We have sandbags available now, right?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. So today, I'm sorry, I should have said that. I've talked about it one time already this morning. So our full service sites are our 3 normal sites, which were the County Public Works lot in East Palatka, the Huntington site, and the Chester Pit in the West End. They're being staffed, and we're there to help. But we also put some self-serve stations in our spots that are very prone to flooding. So we put a site in Sportsman's Harbor that's a self-serve site. We delivered some sand in there yesterday. Got them some bags. Also, we did it at the Riverside Fire Department in San Mateo for the folks that live in Dunn's Creek. And we also put one at the Cedar Creek Boat Ramp in Bostwick, so that the people there didn't have to travel quite as far. When we tried to get sand in the most flood-prone areas so that they could do a self-serve, but they do need help. It started this morning at 10 o'clock at each one of the sites. It takes about 9 to 10 o'clock before prison crews can get out and get to the sites, but they'll be working that today and tomorrow both. And we'll push them out as far as we can to help citizens get sandbags filled. But we do have sandbags. The locations are open, and we're there to help. So if anybody needs anything that's sandbag related, just please let us know. We can make special arrangements for whatever we need to do.
Thank you.
Administrator Suggs?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's what I wanted was to bring up, is the fact that just want to let the citizens know that we have opened up all those sites for sandbags, and that, again, you know, your staff is preparing for the absolute worst and hoping for the best. So, but the citizens, thank you, JR, for the update, because I want the citizens to know that those sites are open.
Okay, and you'll make decisions on shelters at 1:20?
We're going to do that at 1:20 today. Yes, sir. We've met with the school district this morning. We're going to make that call today at 1:20.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
JR, let me thank you and Danielle putting the stuff on the county website. We can pull it right off of there. That gets emailed to us. We can put it right on our Facebook page. It's been very helpful, even as of yesterday.
I can't take credit for that, sir. I have to give that to the staff.
I know, but I'm just saying that she's done a great job doing that. So grab it off of when it comes to you an email, put it on your Facebook. It works very well. Thank you.
Okay. Sheriff Deloach, I'm going to put you on the spot, but I guess I am. I know that I'm going to get calls, and I'm sure Commissioner Turner, with this flooding coming back in. I know that y'all did a lot of patrolling in the Dunn's Creek area and in Willaca area, and I think even down towards Georgetown for speeding boats after this is over with, because probably just like with Ian, you know, a day and a half after, it's going to be 80 degrees or 75 degrees, and people want to go out in their boat. So will that still be coordinated through the sheriff's department and also with FWC?
Yes, as many of you are aware, during the last storm, we had a continual presence out on the river even during the storm to help mitigate some of the risk that we experienced along the river and the adjacent areas, specifically with some of the derelict vessels that my staff was responsible for going and securing prior to the storm, because we had some unfortunately irresponsible boat owners who just left their property unattended. But yes, to your question, we will maintain a presence throughout those flood-like conditions to help mitigate the risk to homeowners' residences along those affected areas.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I was going to mention this during commissioner comments, but it may be appropriate now. Several years ago, when I believe it was Irma came through, we had a discussion up here on the board, and it may have been the one before that, but we had a discussion about putting some unofficial no-wake signs up in the affected areas along the river and Dunn's Creek. I think they actually did a little bit of good at the time. I made a wisecrack about the sign police or what have you, and so we can't enforce them because they're not official no-wake zones. And we went through a year of study. In fact, I got a 42-page report from Mr. DeNovo on how and why we could not do it. But by the same token, I believe the signs helped a little bit. Gator, when we put them signs out several years ago, I think it was 5 years ago now, do you think it did any good at all to help people slow down? I know we can't enforce them and we can't pull them over because it's basically an unofficial no-wake zone, but do you think it helped at all, or was it worth the time and effort that we took to do it?
I do. I think it helps substantially. And if for no other reason than just to remind boaters who are using the river and in those affected areas to just do the neighborly thing and please be respectful of everyone's property and to always be cognizant of the water level. So I'm personally an advocate of it. I realize that it's unenforceable and that frustrates some of our residents, but it also helps significantly mitigate their risk of flooding.
5 years ago, we had the signs made, I believe, in our sign shop. I believe, Terry, do you remember?
Yes, sir.
If we had some more of them signs made, I know that y'all went out and put some of them out a few years ago. Could we offer them to some of the people and maybe get one of your deputies who's patrolling the river to put them on some strategic docks? And what do you want to tell me the story about when he went?
As long as I can get a commitment from the administrator to go and help me put them back up again.
Well, we were sitting up here talking about plausible deniability. I guess that's out the window now, but yeah, we did do this after Hurricane Irma because you're right, Commissioner Turner, we were not allowed to through the
Do you want a vote from the board, or can we just make some up and try to?
No, sir. I
do it.
I believe me and the sheriff will come up with a plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You know, just one last thing. I made the crack about the sign police, but we didn't get caught on these no-wake signs. We got caught on the Jake brake sign from DOT. So maybe there isn't sign police over the no-wake sign.
I believe the reason why we didn't catch a whole lot of grief is because we actually had citizens allow us to attach them to their private property, which was a big benefit to us being able to do that.
If we could work that out again, I think the biggest problem that we had out, not the biggest problem, but one of the issues that we had out of Ian was that there just was nothing out there at all, and the boats plowing by. If it'll help at all, then let's put these things out.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Okay. Thank you, Sheriff Deloach. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. We'll move down to item 8, Clerk of Court, Honorable Matt Reynolds.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to add other than I hope everybody stays safe during the storm.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, we move down to appointments. Commissioners, any appointments you wish to make this morning, starting with Commissioner Rawls?
I have none.
Commissioner Harvey?
I have none.
Commissioner Turner?
I have none.
Commissioner Adamsack?
I have none, but if there's anyone out there that's interested in the library board, the couple people I had can't attend at the time that they meet. I believe it's 2:30 every other month. In the afternoon, they move it to different libraries around the county. So if there's anyone in District 5, and I guess my question is, does the person have to live in the district for library? If there's anyone that lives in District 5 that's interested in doing that, and maybe a retired person who loves to read, that'd be great, because that one has been difficult to fill. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Okay, we'll move down to public comment on miscellaneous items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It's not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in debate or deliberation on matters on which the board has received no prior information as part of the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And please fill out a comment card if you can. And please state your name and address when you come to the podium. The first speaker would be Mr. Rick Wilkinson, the St. John's Harbor MSBU. Good morning. Can you do it in the microphone, because sometimes it doesn't?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay. I'm not a real good speaker, and the man that should be speaking, Mr. Bill Thompson, should be here, but he's not able to hear right now. I just got a couple questions. We recently, as y'all all well know, we were assessed with this new MSBU amount of $238 per parcel, and we've been told, and I talked to you, Mr. Pickens, on the phone, and I talked to Mr. Ladd also, and I'm hearing both the same things, that we're going to see results, but we're not getting any results. We're not hearing anything. Communication, and I know everybody here knows something about communication, is real critical, and we're not hearing anything. And we've had work orders in for about 3 weeks to do some work out there to prepare for any storms that might be coming in late. And now we've got one coming in. There's been nobody out there at all to tend to any of these drainage issues, which is a real big problem. And I'm speaking for a lot of people right now that, like I said, should be here, but we just want to know how we're going to get answers, who we're going to hear from to get these answers.
Okay, Administrator Suggs, I spoke with Mr. Wilkinson, and then also, as you said, Sean did. And I know that Sean said that he was going to try to attend some of those MSBU meetings. And so I was just wondering, because that's been part of the problem with his money, and now they're funded. So then communication about what the citizens want within each MSBU, and then how to get that relayed to the contractor, because it seems like that is a missing piece. So is that the process that they need to follow?
I'll follow up on that, Mr. Chairman, with Mr. Ladd. It is my understanding that Mr. Ladd was going to be attending meetings, and so I will get with Mr. Ladd and see what meetings has been held and which ones we've been able to attend. And if you would, I'll give you my business card or my contact information before you leave here this morning. Just go ahead and call me directly if you need anything, and I'll make sure that the folks that are supposed to be working on your process and your project follows up with you.
Okay. I appreciate that very
Absolutely, sir. Be my pleasure.
Commissioner Adams, you have a comment?
I can absolutely attest that Mr. Ladd was at all the West Putnam ones last month, because I was there and he was there. So I'm not sure if he was aware when yours is, when your next one is. But he did a great job. My question, I guess, is with Nilda leaving, I guess we had David Parsons come in, and my understanding is he chose not to take the position. Where are we at with finding a replacement with Nilda? Just because that is really the person, or who's the go-to at this time in lieu of Nilda? Would it be Sean, or how are we handling this while we're waiting to hire someone? Because we basically don't have that MSBU coordinator right now. That's part of the whole.
Mr. Parsons did take the position and is still technically in the office. He has had an opportunity present itself, and so he has accepted another opportunity. So we have posted that vacancy online and are in the process of recruitment and interviews now. And then in the interim, if Mr. Parsons departures prior to a new MSBU coordinator, then Mr. Sean Ladd would be the point of contact.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. And so you got Administrator Suggs's card also?
Yes, sir.
So, okay. All right. Commissioner Turner, do you have a comment?
Yes, I just want everybody to know that this is not isolated to just St. John's Harbor. I mean, I have an MSBU in my area that went up over $300 a year instead of $238. It went up to over $300 a year. And in all fairness, they weren't funded until the first day of October. That's when they were actually funded. And so then they put in work orders, all of them, not just yours, Mr. Wilson, but all of them. They put in work orders, and then we got a brand new MSBU coordinator, and then the MSBU coordinator decided to take another project or another job, and so we're kind of in between MSBU coordinators, and even though it's not really Sean Ladd's job, Sean decided to step up and try to keep us in loop here, so let's cut him just a little bit of slack. I know we're all impatient and everything, but he's basically doing it on top of all his other duties until we can get him some help in there to get a new MSBU coordinator. So, hopefully we can try to get some of these issues solved, especially for St. John's and the Riverside one in my area too, some of these issues. But like I said, you got to understand these people are taking it on right now on top of their regular duties until we can get that person back on staff. Just wanted to mention that along with it.
Okay. All right. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close the public comment portion, and we'll move down to closing comments. Administrator Suggs?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The only comments that I have here this morning, sir, is just once again, I don't think we can say it often enough, is for our citizens to really pay attention to this event that is coming and heed the warnings and follow the advice that's put out on our website through our emergency management folks, and just be safe. I don't think we can say it enough. This is going to be a major rain event with some serious wind, and we need to prep and we need to be ready for that. If they need anything, they can always call the emergency management line at 329-1903, I believe it is, or 1902. And am I just a step ahead, Public Safety Director? Oh, my bad.
The call center's not open yet, but the phone number would be 386-329-1904.
4, I was close.
You're close.
Yes,
But
and that's why we have great folks.
Right now, till we get a call center opened up, you can call our general information line is 329-0379. So if you call that until we get that up and running, as soon as the call center's open, we'll do a Facebook post about that.
Before you step down, Public Safety Grimes, just want to also, just as a reminder that once we make these difficult decisions, and those decisions will be made today on what we're going to do and how we're going to move forward with this event, I want to remind the commissioners of the situation during Ian, how we actually kind of ramped up and then ramped back down as quickly as we did. And I think that's kind of the plan that we will put in place again. And I want to thank Public Safety Director Grimes for doing that last time. I think it's the right thing to do. And to have that the EOC open for as short hours as possible and the shelters for as short of hours as possible. And I think he did a great job with that. So thank you. And again, just be mindful of the event. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the end of my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Suggs. County Attorney? Okay. Commissioner comments? I'll start with Commissioner Adamczak.
I mean, I guess the same thing as in Ian. I mean, just it pays to be over-prepared and not have to utilize what you prepared for in the event of any of these storms, so just please do that. Today is Election Day, so get out and vote. It's a nice day out so far. It's going to rain a little bit later today. So far, 3,700 people have voted on Election Day, so that's exciting news. And regardless of who you support or who you vote for, get out and utilize your right that all our veterans that we celebrate at the end of the week fought to preserve. So thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Turner?
heard anything yet, or do we have a schedule of approximately when we'll have the refund, the returns from the constitutionals for the end of the year? I mean, it's past end of November now, so.
Matt, would you like to?
We're preparing ours. Actually, the statute says we have to return it by the end of October, which we did, but we'll have the information to you guys, at least for us, on the next November meeting. It was too soon to get it on this meeting, but it'll be on the next November
We have
meeting.
information that's just not on the meeting yet. You have it for all the
Our-
other
ours-
constitutionals?
I don't have their information. The only information I've received, only constitutional that's actually delivered me any information would be the sheriff's office, and it's being reconciled with Brian right now.
Yeah.
And
Finance, our finance has, because obviously we do the finance for the board, so we have that, yeah. Ours was
I
a
can
little
make a
over 200.
request.
So when that comes in, please, because I was my understanding by the end of October, we had to know what was going on. This is the first meeting in November, we don't know squat.
I'll follow up with finance and get a report.
I'd also like to just say that, reiterate kind of what JR or Mr. Grimes and Mr. Adams has said, and I'm not gonna make the 49 mobile home comment get out, but in all seriousness, if you feel unsecure, go somewhere else. There could be tornadoes. The ground's soggy. If you live under trees, a tree could fall. You got a chance in a nice home or whatever, but if you live in a 49 mobile home, then you need to be more concerned about it than you do. So, I wish JR truly wish we had a decision already on if they were gonna open shelters or not. And the main thing is just flat out that this would have been an opportunity to tell the citizens and maybe even get it in the paper tomorrow, because I'm sure Sarah's watching or somebody, and that it maybe could have got in the paper tomorrow, and we could have got it, in that media along with other things for people to make plans to maybe not be there Thursday night.
If something doesn't drastically change in that track that we're currently on, there's going to be sheltering in Putnam County. It's going to have to make a major shift between now and 1:20 this afternoon. But the chances are, I'm going to say 90% chance right now is the shelters will be open in Putnam County this afternoon. Well, they won't be open this afternoon, but the decision will be made. But, I mean, unless something majorly changes.
I'm assuming they'll put it on the website.
Yes, sir.
And Facebook.
Yes, sir.
And all the normal social media.
Yes, sir.
And do a press release perhaps that maybe they can get it in the paper or whatever.
Yes, sir.
And the last thing I want to do is somebody get hurt because they say, look, I looked everywhere I could and I didn't see there was any shelters open.
Yes, sir.
That wouldn't be acceptable.
Yep, and we'll be at the radio stations, both the radio stations in Palatka. We'll get it on social media. We'll reach out to our partners with the TV, Jacksonville and Gainesville and all the other places, and make sure that everybody's getting the coverage they need. And we'll absolutely do like we did last time during Ian. If we need to, the sheriff's office and the fire rescue folks went out and actually did announcements in the truck, going to door and going, hey guys, you live in a low-lying area. The floodwaters are going to rise. We actually did a door-to-door campaign and let some folks know last time, and if we need to do that again, we'll absolutely do it again.
Thank you. Yes, sir. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Harvey?
I have nothing further, sir.
Commissioner Rawls?
I thought long and hard about what I was going to say today at the end, but I think what I would offer is words of encouragement for this board to set aside any thought process that you have on the old way of doing business and start considering a new way of doing business. You've lost a lot of valuable staff over the past couple of years, and in doing exit interviews with some of them, there's a work environment here that people don't like. You had an employee quit, take a pay cut to go to a lower paying job. Recently, you had a public works director that was looking at building a house here, and then 2 weeks later just disappears. And same thing with human resources. I would seriously take a hard, cold look at reversing a board decision that allows the county administrator to unilaterally create positions and then slow down and look at what the positions not only pay, but look at their benefit package. Look at how they're being placed in the retirement system, what the costs to the taxpayers are, but also consider all the employees that have been here faithfully, loyally for 10, 15, 20 years, that are serving the public very well, that are underpaid, and that are really fixed to be thrown into some very seriously hard times, not as a result of the board necessarily, but as a result of this economy. I really think that the board should spend more time deliberating on their own and not being told by staff what it is. You know, there was a report that was put out when we did the strategic planning. There was a survey that was done, and there was a report that was put out. We never once discussed that. And that was the satisfaction survey. And it wasn't scathing, but it wasn't good. It really showed where we were as a group. And I think that we owe it to the current employees of the county to have that conversation, make an environment that gives them the opportunity to be less afraid and more willing to come forward and be honest, because they're the problem solvers. They're the ones that are going to solve the problems in the streets, not sitting behind a desk. It has been an absolute privilege to have been able to serve. I was very upfront with the public when I was asked by Commissioner Harvey to run. I said it'll be on one term. That was my way. I've been honest by some accounts, brutally honest, other accounts too honest, but at the end of the day, I've been very honest with the public. I cannot say the same thing necessarily for all the staff that works here. I have come across areas where I have brought up concerns of fraud, misuse of funds. I really think this board going forward really needs to take a hard look at how business is done in Putnam County. I think we can definitely better serve the citizens at that point. But again, this has been a privilege for me. When you finish your obligation to the military, you end with what they call an EAOS, which is end of active obligated service. This is the end of my active obligated service, and there is a great sense of obligation when you get elected. You know, for me, it cost me more money than I was ever able to make as a commissioner, but I did it because I have a passion to serve, and I really think that there's an opportunity for us to do better, not only for our citizens, but for our future citizens, that being our children and grandchildren. So I hope that my words of encouragement fall in the right ears, and you guys can take that to heart. Otherwise, I'm really enjoying myself lately. It was a great sense of relief. Somebody walked up to me the night of the election and said, "You don't look upset." And I said I had two paths to victory. I could win or I could lose. Winning means not having to have that sense of obligation, going to 3 or 4 Christmas parades a year and 4th of July parades and all these things that you normally wouldn't do, and being able to spend more time with our family, which I can guarantee you this month has shown me more than anything how important that is. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. And this has just been an enormous pleasure.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Rawls, for those comments, and thank you for your service to Putnam County. And I remember when I was outgoing chairman after your first year, and I said we did have some spirited discussions. And I said a lot of energy, and you said synergy, which is the name of Jeff's company, one of his companies. So he definitely came with a lot of energy, he was prepared, and definitely spoke his mind, no question about that. So thank you. And my closing comments are pretty much like some of the other commissioners. You definitely need to prepare for this storm. Don't let it sneak up on you. If you're in the low areas, you need to prepare because it'll be like a Ian and a Irma as far as the flooding and rain and then probably the wind. So just be prepared. Our meeting for our next meeting on the 22nd, because of the induction of swearing in of the school board and county commissioners, will be pushed to 10 a.m. on that Tuesday. The swearing in will be in this building at 9 a.m. and it shouldn't take an hour. So we'll start our regular Board of County Commission meeting at 10 o'clock on Tuesday the 22nd, and our regular scheduled our transportation meeting will be at 2 o'clock. So there won't be any change in that schedule other than the morning meeting. So commissioners, any further business to come before this board? Yeah, we're going to do a work job. Let's give it about 20-minute break, and then let's give it about 20 minutes. I got to check on some things. If there's no further business, we'll stand adjourned.